you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Quiet Riot.
Hello and welcome to Quiet Riot Midnight Mass. So I've just watched the first full night of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago because I do that. And I thought I'd share some quick impressions with you. The first thing to say is that there was such a sense of unity of purpose as well as a sort of joy and relief that they are competitive in this election at long last. It felt like an award ceremony at times rather than a party convention. It was a little bit like the Oscars. There were strong speeches from many, all the way across the political spectrum of the party, from Ocasio-Cortez to Bashir, and some really, really great lines. Jamie Raskin describing J.D. Vance as Trump's pet chameleon jumped out at me. Jasmine Crockett's "She has a resume, he has a rap sheet." That was a good one. And Raphael Warnock's "A patient's room is too small for a woman, her doctor, and the United States government. It's too damn small." There was even an appearance by Kamala Harris herself that nobody seemed to expect, and sent the packed stadium into absolute paroxysms of joy. There were some really hard moments too, especially the couple from Texas who decided to share the story of being forced to carry a baby to term at huge risk to the mother's life that they knew would either be born dead or die in a matter of hours. The heartache of that just fell over the crowd like a dark veil, but it was very useful to return people to why they're fighting this fight. And then there were moments of jubilation tinged with a bit of melancholy, like Hillary Clinton taking to the stage to that painfully familiar 2016 anthem fight song, looking absolutely great. Do you remember, by the way, that Trump accused her of being ill, that she would never be able to complete her term, and she was basically on death's door? Well, 8 years later, she's looking pretty good. So she stood there while the crowd chanted, "Lock him up, lock him up," which was quite a strange moment. Message discipline was fierce throughout. This was about forward, not back, prosperity, not fear, public service, not self-service. All of this was echoed by almost every single speaker. And a really interesting one, a determination to not just win, but in the words of, for instance, Raskin, win so big that even he can't deny it. My spidey sense tingled whenever I heard that. I have a feeling this will become a key message and act as a very effective spur for both party activists and voters. And then finally came Joe Biden, wiping away a tear after his daughter's introduction. For almost 4 minutes, 3 minutes 50 odd seconds I counted it, the crowd would simply not let him start his speech. They chanted as one, "Thank you, Joe, and we love Joe." "I love you," he said when they started to settle down. He spoke with passion. He spoke with the unfamiliar of late fluency. It was in my mind confirmation that since the weight had been lifted, he was a new man. He even looked terrific. He said stuff like this.
Donald Trump calls America a failing nation. No, I'm serious. But think about this. Think about this. He publicly says to the whole world, I'm going to say something outrageous. I know more foreign leaders by their first names and know them well than anybody alive. Just because I'm so damn old. But I'm not joking. Think of the message he sends around the world. when he talks about America being a failing nation. He says we're losing. He's the loser. He's dead wrong.
And also things like this.
Selecting Kamala was the very first decision I made when I became our nominee. And it was the best decision I made my whole career. We've not only gotten to know each other, we've become close friends. She's tough, she's experienced, and she has enormous integrity, enormous integrity. Her story represents the best American story. And like many of our best presidents, she was also vice president. That's a joke. But she'll be a president our children can look up to. She'll be a president respected by world leaders because she already is. She'll be a president we can all be proud of. And she will be an historic president who puts her stamp on America's future.
To think that a few weeks ago his opponent had convinced so many that this was a man who was experiencing cognitive decline. The same opponent that was going around today talking absolute gibberish like this.
We're going to bring up electronics, too. Electronics, we buy everything away. When you see the sophistication of the product I just saw at this place, electronics is peanuts by comparison.
Quiet Riot.
Over on Fox News, pundits complained that Biden's speech was boring. They had heard it all before, seemingly forgetting that people left an already half-empty stadium in the middle of Trump's 40 minutes late 2-hour-long speech only the night before. Bitches, your dude babbled for so long the other day, meat literally spoiled next to him, milk went sour, flies made their nest on his face. The right-wing Twitter bot squad also delighted in suggesting that Biden speaking last was a final act of snubbing by the party. It was to push him out of prime time. They simply don't get it. This was not for their benefit or for Fox's benefit. This was a love-in, and he was the guest of honour. Everyone else was his warm-up act. This seems to me a party that got the therapy out of the way on day one, so it can get to work the next 3. And that is all the more remarkable if I cast my mind back to 8 weeks ago to that debate. Yes, that was 8 weeks ago. Remarkable, isn't it? And the sense of hopelessness at Biden's poor performance, then to 1 month ago when Trump was shot at, and every sage proclaimed, "That's it, election is over." This convention was meant to be a bloodbath. First it was going to be the Ides of March, where everyone tried to do away with Biden. When 4 days later Biden stepped aside, the same pundits declared the DNC would be a bun fight, where the Democratic Party tore itself to shreds as loads of people grabbed for the crown. When Harris put herself forward 2 days after that, the same pundits opined that she could never bring the party together. Disarray was what was expected. Instead, what happened was absolute array. A party ready for a fight, and all of it enabled by the most dignified, respectful, affectionate even, passing of the baton. And it is worth taking a moment here to consider Biden's decision. It is easy to see it as a result of pressure, or as something in which he had no agency, but that is nonsense, actually. Biden is the fucking president, and he had the nomination almost unanimously. if he had decided to dig his heels in, if he had done the selfish thing, the thing we have come to expect from every single politician, he could not have been dislodged in a way that didn't do so much damage the election would be lost anyway. What Biden did instead was the right thing. His final act in power was to let go of it. He was number 2 to the first black president, and now he anointed his own number 2, who could very well go on to become the first woman president. His place in the history books is, in my view, assured. The reaction he got was utterly extraordinary. Actual waves of adulation. You can't fake that. It's like his decision not to seek a second term burst some sort of dam of gratitude, and he now commands a kind of love in his party that no second term could ever have generated. Surely there's a lesson there. Right, it's late, so I'll make my exit. Remember, if you appreciate our work, you should support our work, and you can now do so on Ko-fi. That's ko-fi, kofi.com/Quiet Riot Pod. I'll drop the link in the show notes. Have a splendid day, my darling Quiet Rioters. Quiet Riot is an audio production by Cooler Heads with Naomi Smith, Alex Andreou and Kenny Campbell. Music by Mariana Sangeeta. Artwork by Simona Canelli. Quiet Riot is a co-production with Sandstone Global.
Quiet.